Janani Saram Devi Rama Krishna Jagadguru Padme Kayodhita Pranamami Pranamami. All right, good evening, Dharma. Tonight our class is labeled as Upanishadic Meditation. And the idea behind this series, I've given one installment here before, and I've done this in Hollywood also. The idea is that how do we study the Upanishads? And usually we read it a little bit and then set it aside, and that's all. Actually, the verses of the Upanishads, these are sacred mantras, which are revealed by seers who realize the truth. And they hold the power to awaken us. They are, for the student, the seeker who is fully ready, simply hearing the mantra is enough to awaken them, to awaken us to spiritual realization, to know who we really are, to know the divine. However, most of us are not so advanced, so there's a threefold process prescribed by the Vedanta teachers. I think you know what they are. Pop quiz. Okay, good. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. First we hear the truth, or read it, in this case, we hear about the truth, then we think about it and we try to convince our minds that it's actually true. We may hear it and we may have some doubts, we may have some questions, we may discuss it, we may think it over, and then the third step is meditate on it, nididhyasana, to meditate on it, to allow the truth which is indicated by the mantra to be revealed in our hearts. So the idea behind this process is to take a verse of the Upanishads and absorb it. Try to absorb the meaning of it. Ideally, we would all have a book. I found this morning when I thought to get ready for class, I looked in the library here, no Upanishad book. Here in the little bookshop, no Upanishad book. No Upanishads here in Vedanta Society. That's not good. We ought to have some copies of Upanishads. Anyhow, whatever it may be. So I had to download them on the tablet. And of course, I should have it all memorized, but I'm not that advanced myself, so here we go. So I thought this time to take up the Katha Upanishad, which is Swami Vivekananda's favorite, and most of you are familiar with it. Anyone has never read Katha Upanishad, the story of Katha Upanishad? Okay, so some of us know it, some of us don't know it. I think we can start with Nachiketa's question. They give a little background. There was a young boy named Nachiketas who was full of faith and strength and conviction. And his father was performing a sacrifice. But in this sacrifice, he was required to give away all that he owned. It was a very auspicious sacrifice. He was required to give away everything, but he was cheating. He was giving away lots of cows that were very old, no longer giving milk. He was, so all these worthless things he was giving away. So his son got concerned. It's like, Dad's not giving away all the things. He's supposed to give away everything, but look what he's doing. He's not doing this sacrifice correctly. Certainly some harm will come to him. So he asked his father, as a way of kind of reminding him, Father, to whom will you give me? Because after all, I'm also belong to my father. I'm also a possession. At least if he gives me away, then that will rectify the sin of giving away all the old barren cows. And but the father ignores him and gets really annoyed. When he asks the third time, he gets annoyed and he says, I give you to death. So he's just annoyed. He just spoke out of anger. He didn't really want the boy to die. But the boy, being so dedicated to truth, he said, okay, I'm going to go to Yama. And so he goes to death, leaving his father behind. He goes to the abode of death, but death is not home. Yama Raja is not at home, and Nachiketa waits for 3 days. And he won't take anything, no food, no drink, nothing. He's come to see Yamaraja, he is going to wait and see him. So when Yamaraja arrives, he finds this fiery young boy full of tapas and fasting for 3 days there to ask him a question. He gets a little nervous, if it could bode ill for the householder if such a holy person comes there and remains unfed. So he offers him, after offering him water and all that, offers him 3 boons, one for each of the 3 days that he had to wait. And the first 2 boons being taken care of, we're not going to go into them. The first boon is that his father may not be angry with him and may recognize him when he comes back and all those things. Second boon is he asks about a certain fire sacrifice leading to heaven. And then is the third boon. He asks this question, and this is the question immemorial, which we are still asking today. And the question is, Yeyam prete vichikitsa manushye asti teke nayam asti chaike etad vidyam Srishtastvayaham Varanamesha Varastritiyah. So he's asking for this third boon. See, there is this doubt. When a person dies, some say, Asti. He is, she is, Asti. He remains, they remain. Some say, Nasti. They don't remain, nothing remains, it's all over. When you die, and that's it, there's nothing more. Some people say the one thing, some people say this other thing. This I want to know from you. Who better to ask than Yama? Then what is this? And the reason I think this is a good mantra to take up is because it sets up this spirit of inquiry, the spirit of seeking. We want to know, and we don't want to know intellectually, we want to know directly by our own experience. What remains when the body, we all shall die. This is the one thing we all share in common, without any doubt. We shall all, these bodies will die, each and every one of us. And this question, what then? Is there anything that remains? Do I remain or do I not remain? This is the big question that so many people have. Of course, we all as Vedanta students, we already have a pretty strong conviction that we remain, and that it's just the body that falls off, that we give up. So we have that conviction already, but still, this question sets up this spirit of inquiry, this longing to know. Because very often we say, after death I will continue, and but have I experienced my true immortal nature? Or I just take it out, they say like that. Swami says, the books say, and we carry on with our lives. So the spirit of longing to know, the spirit of inquiry. And of course, after this, Yama tests the disciple. He says, that's a very difficult to know. Better not to ask about that. Even the gods don't know the answer to that. Ask something else. And then Yama tempts him with all the attractive things of this world. A long life, as much wealth as he could possibly want, dancing girls to attend on him, jeweled chariots, and whatever else delectable that you can think of. But Nachiketa rejects all that. So he says, no, this is what I want to know. So this is the idea. Ye yam prete, when prete being dead, this doubt, vichikitsa, this doubt comes, vichikitsa, in human beings, manushya. Asti, iti, eke. One says, asti, he exists. Nayam, asti, iti, cha eke. Another one says, no, he doesn't exist. This knowledge taught by you, I would like to know. This is the third of the boons. So let's chant it together. I'll chant a couple of words and then you'll chant after me, and then we'll chant it a couple of times, then we take this as our first verse for meditation. Yeyam prete, vichikitsa, manushye, asti yeke, nayam astiti, chaike, etad vidyam, anushishtas, tvayaham, varanam esha, varastritiyah, yeyam prete, vichikitsa manushye, asti yeke, nayam astiti chaike, etad vidyam,
एतद्विद्याम्
अनुशिष्टस्त्वयाहम्
अनुशिष्टस्वयाहम्
वराणामीश
वराणामीश
वरस्तृतीयः.
वरस्तृतीयः.
When man dies, there is this doubt. Some say he exists. Some again, he does not. This I should like to know, being taught by you. This is the third of my wounds. So how do we meditate on this? There are different ways. We can repeat part of the mantra, Asti keke nayamasti kichayati. Or just hold that attitude of seeking. What is it, if anything, that continues after death? This body will die. Who am I that does not die? So let's take this. Any questions? Comments? We have about 5 minutes of silent meditation on this verse. Swami Turiyananda, Sri Ramakrishna's most Vedantic disciple, he taught this method of studying Upanishads and Gita. Take one verse, live it, memorize it, live it, and dive into it for days. We're doing 5 minutes. and imbibe the meaning of it. And this is the way to study Upanishads. So we're doing just a little bit like that. Okay, so the death, Yamaraja then offers Nachiketa all kinds of temptations, and Nachiketa rejects them. He says whatever object of desire that are difficult to get in this world, you can ask for them, all according to your choice. These fair damsels along with chariots and musical instruments, such indeed as are not obtainable by men, be thou attended on by them, whom I bestow upon thee. But ask not again anything about death. This is Yama trying to tempt him away from it, and Nachiketa is very clear. He says all these things are transient. They will all come under your sway eventually. So keep all your horses and your songs and your dances. You keep them for yourself. I don't want them. I want to know. And also he points out, we never get satisfied by wealth. He says people are never satisfied by wealth. It's a very clear understanding from thousands of years ago. Nachiketa understood, and it was true then, and it's true now. No matter how much wealth you get, it's never enough. You always want more. At least the normal person who's not a seeker, who doesn't have the mind of discernment, is going to feel like it's not enough. I want more. So Nachiketa says, no, I want what I asked about. That's what I want. And then Yama begins his teaching, and he introduces the idea of Shreyas and Preyas, and how it's like there are two paths open to us at every time, every moment. And the path of Shreyas is the path of the good, and the path of the Preyas is the merely pleasant. So it's the good and the pleasant, the electable and the delectable, the preferable and the pleasurable. And we always have a choice. We have a choice. How are we going to live our lives? What are we going to seek for? Are we going to seek for material wealth, or are we going to seek for that supreme wealth, which is spiritual realization, which is the divine? And of course he's going to praise Nachiketa because he has selected Shreyas over Preyas. But most people choose Preyas over Shreyas. And he gives two verses. Let's take the second one of them. Both the good and the pleasant approach us. The wise person discerns between the two of them, examining them well, discerns between them, and chooses the good over the pleasant. Whereas the fool chooses the pleasant through greed and attachment. I think it doesn't mean that just if we're going to seek for knowledge, it means we have to become monks and nuns and give up our jobs and our families and our houses and our cars and all that. It doesn't mean that. But it means, first of all, when we're sitting for meditation, where's the mind going to go? Are we going to steer it towards all those things, or are we going to steer it towards the divine? So it means that in our life, we do have an understanding of the relative importance of things, and even though we may have all of us here have houses to look after and families to look after and new cars to buy when the old ones wear out. But we also have some discernment to remember that the goal actually is spiritual wisdom, spiritual knowledge. And these are just for living in this world, we need these things. But then we also recognize that, well, and one of the devotees was also telling me that, well, the Teslas are pretty expensive. We'll probably go with a more affordable car. Even though that devotee might be able to afford the Tesla, but actually it's not the most economical use of one's funds, and so, all right, an affordable vehicle makes more sense. I don't need a Tesla. And so let's chant this verse. It's a beautiful verse. These verses are all so poetic. Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyascha Preyascha
Shreyascha Preyascha
Manushyametaha
Manushyametaha
Tau Samparitya
Tau Samparitya
Vivinakti Dhiraha
Vivinaktatira
Shreyo Hidhiro
Shreyo Vidhiro
Avipreyaso Shrinite.
Avipreyaso
Sorry, too long. Avipreyaso
Avipreyaso
Vrinite
Vrinite
Preyo Mando
Kreyo Mando
Yogakshemak
Yogakshema
Vrinite.
Vrinite
Vrinite chooses, no? So Shreyascha, Preyascha. Shreyas and Preyas approach a person, Manushyameta. Tau Samparitya, having examined these two fully, the wise person chooses Shreyas, and the fool chooses Preyas. Shreyascha Preyascha
Shreyascha Preyascha
Manushyametaha
Manushyametaha
Tau Samparitya
Tau Samparitya
Vivinakti Dhiraha
Vivinaktatira
Shreyo Hidhiraha
Shreyo Vidhira
Avipriyaso Vrinite
Avipreyaso Vrinite
Avipreyaso Vrinite
Avipreyaso Vrinite
Preyo Mando
Kreyo Mando
Yogakshema Vrinite
Yogakshema Vrinite
Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyametaha
Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyametaha
Tau Samparitya
Tau Samparitya
Vivinakti Dhiraha
Vivinaktatira
Shreyo Hidhiraha
Shreyo Vidhira
Avipreyaso Vrinite
Avipreyaso Vrinite
Preyo Mando
Kreyo Mando
Yogakshema Vrinite.
Yogakshema Vrinite.
Both the good and the pleasant approach a person. The wise one discerns the two, having examined them well. Yea, the wise person prefers the good to the pleasant, but the fool chooses the pleasant through avarice and attachment. So we're going to take 5 minutes with this verse and see that, understand that the Shreyas, they both lead to different goals. One who chooses the pleasant misses the goal, according to them. remembered that yesterday afternoon tea, there was 1 cup extra, and I thought, let me have it, and I drank the extra cup. And then last night I couldn't fall asleep. So I went for prayas there, see? Shreyas would be, no, I'd leave the tea aside and go for meditation. But I thought, no, let me enjoy a second cup of tea, and I enjoyed it. And then afterwards I suffered for it. So this is a perfect example of the fool choosing prayas instead of shreyas. Okay. So if we're doing this correctly, we'll go through each mantra, and it'll be a process taking many weeks or months of taking each mantra of the Upanishad, studying it, ideally memorizing it, because the Sanskrit has its own power and beauty. Though a translation is good, but ideally we memorize the mantra and then we can repeat it slowly to ourselves as we're meditating. And we really find beautiful things. It reveals its inner meaning to us in time. So now I'm fast forwarding, as it were, skipping through the Upanishad to because Yama praises Nachiketas a lot. He praises him for his clear discernment and his renunciation and his longing to know the truth. And finally he said, okay, now tell me that thing. That which you see as different from both dharma and adharma, and which is different from cause and effect, and which is different from what was and what will be, tell me that. And then we get the first direct teaching of Yama about the truth. And it's beautiful. And he says, Sarve Veda Yat Padamamananti Tapamsi Sarvani Cha Yad Vadanti Yadichanto Brahmacharyan Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Brahmini Om Ityeta. So he says, I don't like this translation too much, but anyhow, the goal which all the Vedas proclaim, which all the penances declare, and desiring which they lead the life of brahmacharya, I tell it to thee in brief. It is Om. So here he is, actually, we can take this to be mantra diksha of Nachiketas. This is the mantra diksha of Nachiketas. He is receiving the mantra, Om. And Yama is telling him, this is that goal. Om is that goal, and it's also the way. Om is the way and the goal. Om here is the goal. What all the Vedas proclaim. Sarve Veda, all the Vedas. Yat Param, that goal which all the Vedas Amananti, proclaim. Tapamsi Sarvani, Chayad Vadanti, what all the tapas, all the acts of tapas, Vadanti. Well, it's strange, how can an act of tapas speak? I'll see if the notes give anything. Which is realized through the performance of tapas. So that which is realized through the performance of intense spiritual disciplines, and desiring which the monks practice brahmacharya. That goal I will declare to you, I will give it to you, very briefly, in one word, in one syllable. It is Om. So it's a beautiful mantra. Sarve Veda
Sarve Veda
Yat Param
Yat Param
Amananti
Amananti
Tapamsi Sarvani
Tapamsi Sarvani
Chayad Vadanti
Jayat Vadanti
Yadichanto
Yadichanto
brahmacharyam
brahmacharyam
charanti
charanti
tatte padam
tatte param
sangrahena
sangrahena
bravimi.
bravimi.
Om
Om
Ityetat
Ityetat
sarve veda yat padamamananti
sarve vedayat
padamamananti tapansi sarvani cha yadvadanti tapansi sarvani cha yadvadanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte param sangrahena bravimi tatte param sangrahena bravimi. Om Ityetat sarve veda yat padamamananti sarve veda yat padamamananti. Is it too much?
Yeah, too long.
Sarve veda
sarve veda
yat padamamananti
yat padamamananti
yat padamamananti
yat padamamananti
tapamsi sarvani
tapansi sarvani
cha yadvadanti
yadvadanti
yadichanto
yadichanto
brahmacharyam charanti
brahmacharyam charanti
tatte padam
tatte param
sangrahena bravimi.
sangrahena bravimi.
Om Ityetat
Ityetat
sarve veda
sarve veda
yat padamamananti
yat padamamananti
tapamsi sarvani
tapansi sarvani
cha yadvadanti
yadvadanti
yadichanto brahmacharyam
yadichanto brahmacharyam
charanti
charanti
tatte padam
tatte param
sangrahena
sangrahena
bravimi.
bravimi.
Om Ityetat. That goal which all the Vedas proclaim and which the practice of intense spiritual disciplines leads to, and desiring which they practice brahmacharya. That goal, I will tell you in brief. It is Om. Let's take this as the mantra of meditation. So Nachiketa has had his mantra diksha, which is an important stage in his spiritual development, and then Yama tells him a little bit about Om. He praises it in order to make Anantaketa understand a little what is Om. We have been studying Vedanta for a while, so we have some idea at least of Shabda Brahman. It's the universal that initial vibration from which everything has arisen. That root mantra from which all sound has come, which all mantras have come, the word which directly indicates Brahman. So we have these ideas, and Yama in the next verse he gives a little more clue as with a short verse as to what is Om. Etadhyevaksharam Brahma, etadhyevaksharam param, etadhyevaksharam jnatva yo yadichhati tasya tad. Etad. Well, I was just going to translate it for a second. Etadhi eva aksharam. This aksharam, this syllable, this aksharam, this syllable Om, is indeed, is verily the highest Brahman. It is Brahman. It is Param. It is the highest. It is knowing this. Etad Hyevaksharam Jnatva, knowing this. Who knows it? Whatever he or she desires. Whatever one desires, one gets that. That's it. Now it's an interesting question, because does it mean that if you want to win the lottery, you get that? Well, the thing is, once you realize Om, once you truly know Om, all those desires will have been left far behind. And actually there remains only one desire, that is to be free, to attain liberation. So I think that is how I understand it, that one gets whatever one desires. But if one comes to truly know Om, then all desires have fallen away, and only that one desire remains for liberation, for knowing Om fully, for merging into Om. So Ramakrishna used to say, the Sandhya merges in the Gayatri, and the Gayatri merges in Om, and then Om merges in the infinite, the absolute. So here he's giving Nachiketa a little bit of instruction in what is Om. And he gives actually two verses which are almost identical. In the next verse is Etadalambanam Shreshtham Etadalambaram Param Etadalambanam Jnatva Brahmadoke Mahiyate. Let's just take the one. We're running over, but that's okay. We'll do this last verse. So let's chant it together. Etad Hyevaksharam Brahma Etad Hyevaksharam Param Etad Hyevaksharam Jnatva Yo Yarichhati Tasya tat. Etadhyevaksharam. So this is actually a combination of several words. Etad, he, eva, aksharam. Etad, he, eva, aksharam. And so then when it gets put together, it becomes etadhyevaksharam. 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 Brahma. Etadhyevaksharam param. Etadhyevaksharam jnatva.
एतद्देवाक्षरं ज्ञात्वा
यो यदिच्छति
यो यदिच्छति
यो यदिच्छति
यो यदिच्छति
तस्य तत्
तस्य तत्
एतद्ध्येवाक्षरं ब्रह्म
एतद्देवाक्षरं ब्रह्म
एतद्ध्येवाक्षरं परम्
एतद्देवाक्षरं परम्
एतद्ध्येवाक्षरं ज्ञात्वा
एतद्देवाक्षरं ज्ञात्वा
यो यदिच्छति
यो यदिच्छति
तस्य तत्.
तस्य तत्.
Okay, let's take this. So this is one way of, a beautiful way of studying Upanishads. Just to take one or two verses like this and read it and take it as a help for meditation. Sometimes our minds get very distracted and it's hard to keep them focused. Even repeating a mantra, we get distracted. We can memorize a slightly longer passage, like one or two verses of this, and slowly repeat the words mentally as and focusing on the words and on the meaning, as we can get the word by word meaning in the translation, and see what is revealed to us. Yes, they have this power, amazing, amazing poetry and powerful spiritual transmission coming through the Upanishads. So, thank you for giving me the chance to share with you some of my favorite verses from the Upanishad, the Katha Upanishad, which you read today. And I'll be here tomorrow also, and my topic tomorrow night is, I'll give a discourse tomorrow night called, titled, Making Friends with Death. So that's tomorrow after evening prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us into light. From death, lead us to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace. I didn't really give any time for questions or comments, but it's getting late, so save them for tomorrow or for after.